In today's video, I'm going to be discussing some very important information in regards to automatically distributed $2,000 monthly checks, specifically focused on the low income, including but not limited to Social Security retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, spousal, SSI, VA, and RRB. That's the focus of this video. Let's talk through the details. All right, now first off, I'm going to state the obvious. The low income and fixed income beneficiaries have been really struggling as of recently, the last few years here financially, because of everything going on. We know that the rapidly rising inflation, high prices have not come down, and have eroded the purchasing power of fixed income benefits and the low income. Now, this generally encompasses about 100 million and fixed income beneficiaries that are out there right now. Now, again, I know that's completely obvious, but you wouldn't believe how many reports I read about this every single week coming out talking about the low income and fixed income and how these 100 million people are taking the brunt of everything going on right now. Again, surprise, surprise, right? Yeah, exactly. Not really. You know that. If you're part of this community, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It has been very rough out there. The last few years have been brutal with all of these high prices that have not come down, even though people continue to come out and say, oh, prices have come down and it's a lot easier to live right now because we're all doing much better financially. Really? If that's the case, then tell me somebody. Introduce me to somebody that is doing much better than now, today, than they were years ago, right? That is not the case. So anyway, I don't want to digress too much, but that is exactly what I'm transferring into here in this video and what I want to talk about, because I continue to read very important information and exactly what I want to bring to your attention. Now remember, a couple years ago, 2020 and 2021, we got 3 stimulus checks during that time. I want to refer to these really quickly here because, believe it or not, they actually learned a lot of information about the distribution of these 3 checks. But by the way, it was $1,200 in April of 2020, $600 at the end of 2020, and then again, $1,400 at the beginning of 2021. So those are the 3 checks that we received, right? A total of $3,200 for most people. Obviously, not everybody, but that's what most people got. Well, as a result of this distribution of these 3 payments, they learned a ton of information. In fact, there have been a lot of studies conducted on this because they tracked this money. It encompassed almost $1 trillion that they sent out in the form of stimulus checks to about 85% of the population. So they've been tracking this money to see what are we, the American people, those of us that got checks. I hope you got it. I certainly did. Again, it was nice while it lasted, but it did not last very long, right? So they continue to track this money, and they continue to find a lot of very interesting information about it. So again, that's what I want to share with you here in this video, which, by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, or any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Totally free to do so. The big subscribe button down below. Also, feel free to share the video with your friends on your social media. Again, big share button down below. And if you'd like, right down below as well, feel free to hit the like button or the thumbs up button as well. Gives me anonymous feedback to see if you are enjoying this content and if this is helping you out. So again, thank you so much. Subscribe and make sure to stay tuned for all the videos coming out here. A lot of things are going on. All right, so I want to share with you the details of these reports that are coming out and what they are finding and the next best approach going forward with the next round of checks that may be going out at some point as well. Now, here's the thing. I want to point this out really quickly. We all completely recognize, and again, I've been very transparent about this in any videos that I've made about this. As of right now, a stimulus check has not been approved yet. However, because of the checks that were sent out a couple years ago, they've learned so much from this. Here would be the approach going forward based on these studies, okay? Now, here's the thing. Remember when I said just a minute ago or so, right? I said that the 3 checks that were sent out a few years ago went out to 85% of the population. Here's what they find. They don't need to do that, right? They do not need to send out checks to 85% of the population. That's nuts. It does not need to be that way. In fact, they only need to send out checks to about 30 to 35% of the population. That's a lot less people, okay? That's a, when you talk about it in real numbers, as in, millions of people, then we're talking about way less people. We're talking about 100 million people versus, 282 million people instead, right? Dramatically different, okay? So anyway, here's what they continue to find. They find that there's this study that shows there's this acronym, MPC, Marginal Propensity to Consume, okay? Let me share with you the details about this because this is actually vitally important information. So basically what they do is they categorize people with their MPC basically rating, okay? So there's 3 different ratings with this MPC scale. high MPC, low MPC, and medium MPC. Again, it's like, how do you like your steak done, right? It's kind of like the same thing here, right? Do you like it well done? Do you like it rare? Or just kind of like it in the middle somewhere, right? So it's kind of like the same situation here. But it comes down to money, and when it comes down to these ratings for these people, okay? So here's what they find. Somebody with a very low MPC is somebody generally with a higher income, and they spend that money very slowly, okay? So that is what they're finding here. A low MPC is not good. They do not want that, okay? That is not within the parameters, not within the confines of what they want with stimulus checks. However, here's what they find with somebody with a medium MPC. They find that these people generally spend about 50% of the money, and it takes them about a week or two or so to spend about 50%, and then they hoard the other 50%, and it takes them about another month or so to spend the rest of that money, if they spend it at all, right? So again, that's not necessarily the best, but it's not the worst either. That's kind of a, kind of right down the middle of the road type of situation. Now, here are the people that they want to focus this on. People that have a high MPC, high marginal propensity to consume. Now, here's what this means. They find that those people that are generally low income are generally people with a high MPC. Now, what they find with this is that these are the people that spend 80% of the money within 10 days. In this case, by the way, $2,000 would be $1,600 that they would find that these individuals would spend the money within 10 days. They'd spend at least 80% of it in 10 days, and then in the coming weeks, they would spend the other 20% of it. So that is what they find from this report right here. So this is actually very important information. So what does this all mean? It simply means that during the next, major economic downturn, the next major economic contraction, the next major economic recession, here's what they continue to find. Sending out checks to 85% of the population is not a good approach. They find that. They find that this is not a good approach going forward, but rather focusing the money on just the highest MPC people. Again, low income, fixed income people. This encompasses about 100 million people across the entire country, about a third of our population. Actually, it's a little bit less than that, right? But here's what they find. Sending out ongoing $2,000 monthly checks for a specified amount of time. It could be 2 months, it could be 3 months, something like this. This would cost a fraction of the amount of money than it actually did to send out checks to 85% of the population. It would cost significantly less money overall, a few $100 billion versus nearly $1 trillion. The money would go into the hands of the people that they know would spend it, 80% of it within 10 days, and the other 20% of it within the coming weeks. It would all be spent and, basically put out into the economy very quickly. That's exactly the purpose of stimulus checks. That is why they send out stimulus checks, to stimulate the economy. I've talked about that a bunch of times before in other videos. So they continue to find that going forward, the next time round, they really don't need to send out checks to 85% of the population, but rather just highly focusing those checks on the low income and fixed income beneficiaries. This is the best approach going forward, because it gets the money into the economy quickly, just what they want to do, and then it gives the money to the people that actually need it, rather than using it to hoard it, to save it, to put it in their bank account, to hide it under a mattress, to pay down bills, stuff like that. That is not the purpose of stimulus checks. They want it to go into the economy to buy goods and services, to stimulate local businesses, and that's the purpose of it, right? Stimulate the economy as a whole. So anyway, very interesting report here, and this is what they continue to find. So next time we come into this situation where we're seeing this major economic contraction, major economic recession, we'll need to continue watching these statistics very closely. Now, obviously, a lot of things could play into that. Maybe they find at that time, hey, we really do need checks to go out to a major percentage of our population versus about 30 to 35% in this study here. So we'll have to see what happens here, but this is actually very encouraging, and they continue to find as well, a one-off $2,000 check is not the answer. They find that at least a few months worth, 2-3 months minimum of $2,000 focused on the low income with these studies here, they find that this would actually offer the best economic stimulus, and it would offer minimal inflation, and it would offer minimal supply and demand issues as well. Just like what we saw over the last few years here. Obviously, that's mostly fixed now, but there's been a lot of supply-demand issues as well because of manufacturing, basically things being sold faster than they could be produced and manufactured, things like that. So anyway, interesting report here. Wanted to share the details with you on this. Of course, we'll need to continue watching this very closely. We don't know what's going to happen here, but only time will tell. And again, I'll keep you posted. So again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your your friends, send me social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel, including the thousands in the video library and those I have hand-selected for you down below in the description or at the top of the comment section. That's about it. Enjoy your day, take care, and I'll catch you again later in the next